begin to address that problem. And then, you know, we'd go talk to the people, Condé Nast and other large publishers. We'd get device designers involved. We'd get some customers involved. And suddenly you start convening some very, very interesting conversations, research, develop some alternate models, etc. That's what universities and iSchools can do. We have no other institutions in our society that can do that. Park is gone, Bell Labs is gone, all the other big places of that nature are gone. We're the only ones left, so we have a chance to do that. And the last thing I would say to you is that it's about culture, not structure. And that's true in the schools where you heard the Syracuse story, and I will tell you, without ever having been there, it's much more about the culture than it is about the structure. I mean, you can create institutes and concentrations till you're blue in the face. If you create a culture that says, we're going to go after problems in this place, we're going to involve all kinds of different people in this place, we're going to make a difference in the world in this place, whether it's a university or a department or a school, all kinds of good things will happen. And this is an example at our campus. This was not a top-down deal with this water thing. I mean, there was a culture that kind of said, let's go after the world's biggest problems. And out of that came a faculty initiative that led to a faculty vote that said, we're going to make water a campus-wide issue for at least 2 years. And we're going to involve all the resources on campus, whether they be policy issues or whether they be liberal arts or whether it be public health or chemistry or medicine, to go after the issues associated with water. And it's been phenomenal so far. We've got the world's expert moved from Geneva to head the program. And in 2 years, I think the faculty may pick another one to go after. I think you can do that in schools as well. Students love it because students want to go after problems. And they learn better in a problem-based environment where they're trying to solve a problem than strictly in a discipline-based. And it begins to transform a campus and it transforms a school because you get up in the morning and you think you're doing something that's important. And that's has, in our view, a very, very high payoff. So that's our thinking about how you might make a difference. And I think, honestly, it's kind of up to you. And I think it's in very clear contrast. Are you going to participate in whatever the most important issues, the equivalent of search and design for the next 20 or 30 years? And if so, I think the opportunity is available to you. And it's really a question of whether or not you want to take it. Thanks.
Can everyone hear me okay? Thank you. Before I start my 15-minute presentation here, I want to say a little bit about the context for this presentation. Regardless of my title here, what I'm speaking about this afternoon is creating the professionals that we need to be active participants in the information industries. With that having been said, let's talk about this title, Masters of Librarian Science, and where it came from. It comes from my listening to NPR one afternoon, and it was a story about the CIA's use of social media in the war against terrorism. And in the middle of that story, Robert Siegel sort of says to the reporter, how many minds are looking at these mountains of data? And the reporter says, hundreds of staff members are involved in this effort, and many of them have masters of librarian science. Well, I didn't know it at the time, but I was actually following David's advice in that I logged off before I blogged off. But it did get me to thinking, what would a profession look like? What would our profession look like if we were defined by our skills and what we do instead of the institutions in where we work? And it might look something like this. Here's Peggy Hull. In 1982, Peggy Hull took a temporary job at Glaxo. She was told very clearly that they did not want a librarian. They were not interested in a librarian. They were interested in someone who would arrange their journals. And they hired her for 6 months as a temporary worker. Glaxo at that time, by the way, had 25 employees. Okay? Instead of just arranging journals, Peggy focused on identifying and meeting user needs. She created a just-in-time library. And when she left Glaxo in 1996, Glaxo had a global information service that was staffed by 10 to 12 professionals, many of them having Masters of Library Science as well as advanced degrees. Peter McCracken identified a problem with journal information. He built a team to design and implement a solution. Serial Solutions has become a company with global reach. And now Peter's moving on, and his second venture is in progress, and it's related to maritime information, shipindex.org, which he is passionate about, absolutely passionate about. David Singleton and Julie Walker. David and Julie, do the wave. There they are, back there. They developed a statewide library card for Georgia's public libraries in 1998, but before they could develop the card, they had to build the statewide network that would allow the card to be used. After they built that network, they went on to work with Georgia public librarians and users to think about what would an ILS system look like if it could do magic. And the result of that was the Evergreen system, which was launched in 2006. And today, Evergreen is in use by over 1,000 libraries worldwide. I believe that's right. But really, the true product of this endeavor is not just the Evergreen system. The true product is a system that changed the way that the profession thought about open source. Ashton Jones, not her real name, created a new library at a research institute at a major research university. She developed products to keep researchers informed of research in their area, and more importantly, identified colleagues in different departments about whom many of these researchers did not know were on campus working in the same area. She assumed increasing responsibility for communicating the Institute's work to a larger audience by assuming responsibility for the Institute's website and ultimately developing the Institute's social strategy. All of these sort of case studies that I'm sharing with you today have something that I call the common core, and many of my fellow presenters have mentioned these and talked about them, but I'm just going to walk through them pretty quickly. There's an entrepreneurial stance. These individuals identified problems, but they didn't just identify problems, they sought solutions to those problems, creating new products, new services, new ways of being, new ways of using information that all resulted in increased efficiencies and effectiveness and an improvement in the quality of life for their communities. Each and every one of them had a community or a customer focus. They were interested in helping a particular group solve problems and developed programs and services to meet those needs. They also have, in this slide here, I call it information in context. I think they had a right orientation to information. And what I mean by that is information is not just something that we collect and preserve. Information is something that is used to help a community achieve its goals. So they were committed to making sure that information was used and shared. Also, each and every one of them used emerging technologies in the solutions that they developed.